Love isn't supposed to feel like a courtroom verdict. But as Hyun-Jae's grandfather slammed the pen into his hand, that's exactly what it became. I thought surviving a corporate hack would be the hardest thing I'd do this week. I was wrong. The Han Group boardroom was all glass and steel, the kind of room designed to make you feel small. I stood there in my janitor uniform, bleach stains on my sleeves, mop bucket abandoned somewhere in the hallway, and watched my entire life implode in real time. Hyun-Jae's grandfather, Chairman Han, a man who looked like he ate lesser men for breakfast, spread documents across the mahogany table like he was laying out a royal flush. His wrinkled hands moved with the precision of someone who'd destroyed empires before. Cookie Davis, he said, my name sounding foreign in his thick accent. Signed and sealed 23 years ago. Your father and I made an agreement. You marry my grandson when you both come of age. In exchange, your family's tech patents would merge with Han Group, securing both legacies. My mouth went dry. That's impossible, my father would never. Your father was bankrupt. The chairman's smile was all teeth, no warmth. Desperate men make desperate choices. Hyun-Jae stood across the table, his jaw so tight I thought it might crack. Those dark eyes that had looked at me with grudging respect just hours ago, now they burned with pure betrayal. This is insane, he said, voice dangerously quiet. You expect me to believe she didn't know, that this whole janitor act wasn't some elaborate scheme to, what, trap me? I didn't know, the words exploded out of me. I've been working here for 6 months. If I knew about some arranged marriage, why would I be scrubbing your floors? Because you're smart. He moved around the table like a predator circling prey. Smart enough to hack into my systems, smart enough to save my company while playing the innocent victim. Smart enough to, he stopped inches from me and I could smell his cologne mixed with fury. To make me think you were different. That hurt more than it should have. Enough, the chairman's voice cut through the tension. The contract is legally binding. Cookie becomes Mrs. Han for 1 year minimum, or both families lose everything, patents, shares, legacy. All of it transfers to our competitors. Then let it burn, Hyun-Jae snarled. You don't mean that, boy. Don't I, but his hands were shaking, I could see it, the war between his pride and his empire. I grabbed the contract with trembling fingers, scanning the signatures at the bottom. My father's name was there, bold and decisive, but something felt wrong. The loops were too perfect, the pressure too even. This signature, I said slowly, it's not my father's. Everyone froze. What are you talking about? The chairman's eyes narrowed. My father had Parkinson's. By the time I was 5, he could barely hold a pen. This, I pointed at the flawless signature. This is too steady. Someone forged it. The room exploded into chaos. Lawyers started shouting. The chairman's face went purple, and Hyun-Jae just stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. Doesn't matter, the chairman finally said. Forged or not, the contract was filed legally. Witnessed, notarized. You want to fight it, spend years in court while both companies collapse, or accept reality. Reality, what a beautiful word for a prison sentence. 1 year, Hyun-Jae said suddenly. His voice was cold enough to freeze blood. She stays for 1 year, but hear me clearly, Cookie. He stepped so close I could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. You'll never touch my name, never touch my company, and you'll sure as hell never touch my bed. You want to be Mrs. Han, fine, but you'll be the wife I never wanted and the mistake I'll spend 12 months correcting. Each word was a knife between my ribs. Until then, he continued, you'll live in my penthouse. Clean it, maintain it, be the perfect little maid wife you've been pretending to be all along. I wasn't pretending. Save it, he turned away, dismissing me like I was nothing. Jenkins will take you to collect your things, you move in tonight. The meeting dissolved, lawyers scattered. The chairman left with a satisfied smirk, and I stood there, contract in hand, wondering how saving a man's empire had become the biggest mistake of my life. Hyun-Jae's penthouse made the office look modest. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased San Francisco's glittering skyline. Modern art I couldn't afford to breathe on decorated every wall. The kitchen had appliances I didn't know existed. And somewhere in this maze of wealth and cold elegance, I was supposed to live for the next year. Your room, Jenkins, the butler, opened a door to reveal a space smaller than the walk-in closet we'd passed. Mr. Han was specific about your accommodations. Of course he was. I dropped my single suitcase on the narrow bed and laughed. Actually laughed, because what else could I do? Cry, scream, run. My phone buzzed, unknown number. You think the signature was forged by accident? Follow the money, Cookie. Someone wanted this marriage to happen. Someone who benefits from both of you being trapped. Check the patent transfer dates. Check who profits if you stay married. You're not the victim here, you're the pawn. And pawns get sacrificed, a friend. My hands went numb. I pulled up my laptop, hacked into the legal database I probably shouldn't have access to, and started tracing the patent transfers from 23 years ago. The data made my stomach drop. The patents didn't transfer to Han Group, they transferred to a shell corporation, and that corporation, it was owned by someone I'd seen every day for the past 6 months. Someone who'd smiled at me, helped me, pretended to be my ally. Jenkins. But why would a butler orchestrate an arranged marriage? Unless he wasn't just a butler. I dug deeper, pulling corporate records, family trees, hidden investments. And there it was, the truth that changed everything. Jenkins wasn't just staff. He was Chairman Han's illegitimate son, the heir who'd been passed over, the one who'd lose everything if Hyun-Jae had a legitimate heir. And a contracted wife who could produce that heir, that was a threat. Which meant I wasn't just trapped in a loveless marriage. I was living with the man who wanted me dead. The door to my room creaked open. I slammed my laptop shut, heart hammering. Jenkins stood in the doorway, that kind smile still plastered on his face. But his eyes, God, his eyes were dead. Mrs. Han, he said softly, I brought fresh towels and perhaps we should discuss your new position in this household. He closed the door behind him. And locked it. I thought cleaning floors was hard. Turns out scrubbing away the memories of a man who hates you is harder. But right now, surviving the next 5 minutes was hardest of all. Jenkins stood between me and the door, that fake kindness melting off his face like wax. His hand moved toward his jacket pocket, and every self-defense instinct I'd learned growing up in Oakland's roughest neighborhood screamed at me to move. Then the intercom crackled to life. Jenkins, Hyun-Jae's voice cut through the tension like a blade. My study, now we have a situation with the Tokyo investors. Jenkins's jaw tightened. For 3 seconds we stared at each other, predator and prey both knowing the hunt was merely postponed. Then that pleasant mask slid back into place. Of course, sir, he smiled at me all teeth. We'll continue our conversation later, Mrs. Han, about your accommodations. The door clicked shut behind him. I collapsed against the wall, heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. Hyun-Jae had just saved my life without knowing it. Which meant I couldn't tell him, because a man who thought I'd trapped him into marriage would never believe his trusted butler was actually trying to kill me. Morning light cut through the penthouse windows like accusations. I'd barely slept, jumping at every sound, watching Jenkins move through the space with that dangerous patience. He knew I was onto him. I knew he was waiting for the right moment. And Hyun-Jae, he'd walked past me 3 times without acknowledging my existence. I was scrubbing the marble kitchen counter, because apparently contracted wives still did manual labor, when the doorbell rang. Jenkins moved to answer it, but I got there first. Some petty part of me needed to do something he couldn't control. The man on the other side of the door was sunshine personified. Hi, I'm looking for Hyun-Jae Kim, and judging by this address I'm either at the right penthouse or I've accidentally stumbled into a billionaire's lair. Either way, he stopped mid-sentence, eyes widening. Wait, Cookie Davis, the Cookie Davis who solved the Mercer encryption problem on MIT forums, what are you doing here dressed like? He cut himself off, taking in my cleaning uniform and the very obvious situation. Ethan Park, he extended his hand, warm and genuine. Hyun-Jae's college roommate and terrible influence, and you're, his wife, the arranged marriage wife. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Oh, this is going to be fun. I shook his hand, caught off guard by someone treating me like an actual person. You know about the marriage? Know about it. His grandfather called me months ago to make sure I'd support the union. Said it was the best business move the Hans ever made. Ethan leaned against the doorframe, completely at ease. Though he failed to mention the wife was a certified genius, Hyun-Jae always did have terrible communication skills. Something cold slithered down my spine, months ago, before I even knew. Yeah, I thought that was weird too. Why are you making coffee? Let me. What are you doing here, Ethan's? We both turned. Hyun-Jae stood in his study doorway, dressed in black slacks and a white shirt that should be illegal. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. And his eyes, God, his eyes were locked on Ethan's hand still holding mine. I pulled away. Ethan didn't seem to notice the tension crackling through the air. Came to meet the famous wife. Ethan moved into the kitchen, making himself at home. Cookie was just about to tell me how a tech genius ended up playing Cinderella in your glass castle. She's not a genius, she's temporary staff. Hyun-Jae's voice was ice over razor wire. The words hit harder than they should have. I turned back to the coffee maker, blinking away the sting in my eyes. Temporary staff who saved your entire company 2 nights ago. Ethan's tone shifted, protective. Come on, man, I read the security reports, she's brilliant. You read? Hyun-Jae's expression darkened. Why are you accessing my company files? Because I'm your investor and your friend. Speaking of which, Ethan turned to me with a smile that made me nervous. Cookie, I'd love to hear your side of this whole arrangement. Dinner tomorrow, just us. She's busy, Hyun-Jae cut in before I could respond. Ethan raised an eyebrow, that knowing smirk growing. Is she, or are you just being your usual controlling self? Ethan. I'll text you. Ethan winked at me, then headed for the door. Good seeing you, brother, try not to screw this up, she's way too good for you. The door closed, silence fell like a guillotine. Then Hyun-Jae was across the room, invading my space with barely controlled fury. Or was it something else? What the hell was that? His voice was dangerously quiet. What was what? A person treating me like a human being. Must be a foreign concept to you. Don't play innocent, you were flirting with my best friend. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You're insane, and even if I was, which I wasn't, you're the one who said I'd never touch your life, so why do you care? I don't. Liar, I stepped closer, done being intimidated. You're jealous, admit it. The Ice King can't stand that someone else sees value in the wife he's too proud to acknowledge. You know nothing about what I feel. Then enlighten me, because 1 minute you're telling me I'm a mistake and the next you're. The next I'm what? He moved closer, and suddenly we were chest to chest, breathing hard, the air between us electric with everything we weren't saying. You're looking at me like I matter. My voice came out barely a whisper. His hand shot up, gripping my wrist, not rough but desperate, possessive. His thumb pressed against my racing pulse. You don't, but his eyes told a different story. You're a contract, an obligation. I kissed him. No, wait, he kissed me. Or we kissed each other. I couldn't tell anymore because his mouth was on mine and my hands were in his hair and nothing existed except the heat of him pressed against me, the way he groaned when I bit his lower lip, the desperate hunger in every movement. Then reality crashed back. I shoved him away and slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed through the penthouse. Hyun-Jae touched his reddening cheek, shocked into stillness. Don't you dare, I said, voice shaking with rage and unshed tears. Don't you dare kiss me out of possession when you can't even look at me with respect. Something in his expression crumbled. The mask fell away completely, leaving only raw vulnerability. Why do you feel like home? The words broke out of him like a confession he'd been fighting. Why does everything about you feel like? Sir, Jenkins burst in, tablet in hand. Emergency, the system's been breached again. We rushed to Hyun-Jae's office. The screens showed red alerts cascading like a digital avalanche. Every firewall compromised, every security protocol shattered. And the access logs showed one devastating truth. The attack originated from my father's old company account. Hyun-Jae's eyes went cold. Explain this now. My fingers flew across the keyboard, tracing the breach in real time. It's a framed job. Someone's routing through proxies using my father's credentials. I stopped. The real IP address appeared on screen. It was coming from inside the penthouse. I looked up at Jenkins. He smiled. Cookie, Hyun-Jae's voice held warning. What's happening? Before I could answer, my backup device buzzed. A file dump. Inside, months of stock purchases. Ethan Park buying shares in Han Group's competitors, betting on the company's collapse, working with someone to orchestrate everything. My phone rang. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. I answered on speaker. Cookie, I need to warn you about something. His voice was urgent. Hyun-Jae isn't who you think he is. Meet me at the rooftop garden in 20 minutes. Come alone, your life depends on it. The line went dead. I looked at Hyun-Jae. still staring at the ruined system with devastation in his eyes. Then at Jenkins, whose pleasant mask had finally fully slipped. Then at my phone. Trust the man who hated me but might need me, or trust the man who showed kindness but might be my enemy. I made my choice. I just hoped I'd live long enough to know if it was the right one. Some ghosts don't haunt halls, they haunt hard drives. I chose Hyun-Jae. Maybe it was the desperate vulnerability in his eyes when he'd asked why I felt like home. Maybe it was the way Jenkins's smile had turned predatory the moment that file appeared. Or maybe I was just tired of running from the one person who might actually understand what it felt like to be trapped. I'm not meeting Ethan, I said, deleting the call. Not until we figure out what's really happening. Hyun-Jae looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. You believe me, after everything I don't believe anyone right now. I pulled up the attack logs again, my fingers moving faster than my fear. But I know one thing for certain. Someone is using my father's work to destroy you, and I'm going to find out who. Jenkins stepped forward. Mrs. Han, perhaps you should rest. You've been through quite an ordeal. Touch her and I'll have you removed. Hyun-Jae's voice was lethal. He moved between us, and for the first time since I'd arrived, I felt protected instead of possessed. Jenkins, you're dismissed. I'll handle this privately. The butler's mask slipped for just a second, long enough for me to see pure hatred flash across his features. Then he bowed and left, closing the door with ominous gentleness. The moment he was gone, I started talking. The attack signature. I pointed at the screen. It's not just using my father's account, it's using code architecture that only existed in one place, an AI prototype I built 7 years ago for his research lab. The project was called Ghost Protocol. Ghost Protocol. Hyun-Jae leaned over my shoulder, close enough that I could smell his cologne and feel his breath on my neck. What did it do? It was designed to penetrate any security system by learning and adapting in real time. My father was working on cybersecurity for defense contracts. We built Ghost to test vulnerabilities. My voice cracked. He died before we could complete it. The lab was shut down. All the code was supposedly destroyed. Supposedly. Someone kept a copy, someone who knew what it could do. I pulled up the code structure, comparing it line by line to my old research notes I kept backed up in the cloud. This is my work, Hyun-Jae, my algorithms, my logic patterns, but refined, perfected. Someone's been developing it for years. His hand covered mine on the mouse, stopping my frantic clicking. Breathe, Cookie, we'll figure this out. The gentleness in his voice broke something in me. Tears I'd been holding back since the boardroom spilled over. I never wanted this, I whispered. Any of this. I just wanted to honor my father's work and maybe prove I was worth something beyond a signature I didn't sign. Hyun-Jae turned me to face him, his hands cupping my face with devastating tenderness. You're worth everything, and I'm sorry, for the things I said, for making you feel like you were nothing, for being too scared to admit that from the moment you challenged me in that server room He stopped, jaw working. I've been what? Everything I didn't know I needed. Then he kissed me. Not like before, not desperate or angry or possessive. This was different. Soft, searching, like he was asking permission with every brush of his lips. And I gave it, melting into him, letting 6 months of loneliness and fear dissolve into something that felt dangerously close to hope. My phone buzzed, I ignored it, it buzzed again. Hyun-Jae pulled back, breathing hard. Answer it. Ethan's message flashed across the screen. I found something, the Ghost Protocol files, I'm sending them now. Cookie, your father didn't die in an accident, check the attached police report. My hands shook as I opened the file. The police report from 7 years ago. Single car accident, no witnesses, but attached was a toxicology report that had been sealed, showing traces of a neurotoxin in my father's system. And a handwritten note from the detective, suspicious circumstances, investigation blocked by federal order. Oh my God, the room spun. They killed him, someone killed my father to get Ghost Protocol. Hyun-Jae steadied me, his arms wrapping around me like armor. Who had access to the lab? Only family and his research partner. My voice came out hollow. A man named. I stopped, pulled up the old lab photos, found the one I needed. The research partner standing next to my father, smiling at the camera. Young, ambitious Korean. Chairman Han. No, Hyun-Jae grabbed the phone, staring at his grandfather's face. No, that's impossible. My grandfather built his empire from nothing. He wouldn't steal cutting-edge AI technology by murdering his partner. I laughed, the sound broken. Hyun-Jae, wake up. Your family didn't become billionaires by playing fair. His face went white. If he killed your father for ghost protocol, then the marriage contract was never about merging families. It was about keeping me close, controlling the one person who could recognize the stolen code. Understanding crashed over me like ice water. I'm not your wife, Hyun-Jae. I'm a loose end he's been trying to tie up for 7 years. My phone rang. Ethan again. Cookie, listen to me very carefully. His voice was urgent. Get out of that penthouse, right now. Hyun-Jae's grandfather just issued a liquidation order for all of your father's old assets, including you. He knows you figured it out. How do you? I've been investigating the Hands for 2 years, ever since I found evidence they were connected to my uncle's disappearance. Cookie, they don't just destroy companies, they destroy people, and you just became their biggest threat. The line went dead. Hyun-Jae was already moving, grabbing his laptop, pulling up encrypted files. My grandfather's private server. If there's proof, it'll be here. Help me crack it. We worked in frantic silence, our earlier kiss forgotten in the face of corporate murder and family betrayal. 20 minutes later, we were in. And what we found made my blood run cold. Files on my father. Surveillance photos of me over the years, at MIT, at my apartment at the Han Group building. And a video file dated 3 months ago. I clicked play. Chairman Han sat in his study, speaking to someone off camera. The girl has outlived her usefulness. Once the merger is complete and we've secured the Ghost Protocol upgrades, eliminate her, make it look like suicide. Hyun-Jae will never know. And if he finds out, the voice was familiar, too familiar. The camera panned. Ethan Park sat across from the chairman, accepting an envelope of cash. My entire world tilted sideways. Then we eliminate him too, the chairman said. You've done well, Ethan. The forged signature was flawless. The marriage contract bought us the time we needed. Soon, the Ghost Protocol will be fully operational and no one will ever trace it back to us. Ethan smiled. What about Jenkins? He's getting suspicious. Jenkins is a necessary evil. Once Cookie is gone, he goes next. No witnesses, no loose ends. The video ended. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. Ethan forged the contract. Ethan's been working with your grandfather. Ethan has been playing us both. Hyun-Jae's voice was dead. While pretending to help you investigate, he was actually. The office door opened. Ethan stood in the doorway, gun in hand, that warm smile finally fully gone. You were never supposed to find that, he said quietly. I actually liked you, Cookie. This would have been easier if you just stayed the scared little janitor. But you had to be brilliant, had to dig, had to make me. His jaw tightened. It doesn't matter now. Ethan put the gun down. Hyun-Jae stepped in front of me. Whatever my grandfather promised you, I'll double it, triple it, just walk away. You think this is about money? Ethan laughed, bitter and broken. Your grandfather killed my uncle Hyun-Jae, stole his research, built an empire on his corpse. And when I figured it out, instead of justice, he offered me partnership. Told me I could have everything, wealth, power, revenge against everyone who'd overlooked me. His eyes met mine. Including you, Cookie, the genius who never noticed the investor who'd been in love with her since MIT. My stomach dropped. What? I've watched you for years. Brilliant, kind, beautiful, and you never saw me. You were too busy mourning a ghost. He raised the gun. So I became one, the friendly face, the helpful investor, the man orchestrating your destruction while pretending to save you. And it worked, until you fell for him instead. The gun pointed at Hyun-Jae's chest. Wait, I stepped forward. You want me, you want Ghost Protocol, I'll give you everything, just don't. Don't what? Kill the man you love. Ethan's smile was heartbreaking. Oh, Cookie, that's exactly what I'm going to do, right before I kill you. And then I'm going to take everything the Hands built and burn it to the ground. His finger moved to the trigger. I did the only thing I could think of. I lunged. Subscribe right now if you need part 3 immediately, because Cookie just threw herself between a bullet and the man she loves. Ethan's about to reveal his final devastating secret, and the Ghost Protocol has one more user no one saw coming. Comment who you think survives this, like if your heart is racing, and drop a shocked emoji if you cannot believe Ethan was the villain all along. Part 3 coming, and I swear, the ending will blow your mind.